startups, and these are the most adaptive uh, elements in the system, I believe. I mean, bigger organizations, big companies, and even organizations like educational institutes like ours, they change much slower. Whereas a startup can very rapidly adapt to changes in the market, in the ecosystem, in the developing, whatever is developing worldwide. That's I think, the beauty, uh, the agility that it offers, that part. You cannot ignore it.
No, I agree. I think it's a culture and some of that. I think a lack of hierarchy, just the lack of rules, I think helps you change faster. So it's a total. I mean, yeah, I think startups is a total opposite of bureaucracy, right? So in that sense, it's a very different culture. Yeah.
And it's also like a newborn. If there is a newborn child, newborn is always like a freshness to the whole system. The rules are much different for new children and newborns. So that is what one should capitalize on. Okay.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. Very true.
Like we give free lunch or free food in any gathering, okay, for the first 5 years. And in airlines, you get a highly concessional seat and things like that. So all that are applicable.
Yep. Shall we start, sir?
Professor Manoj, please, the students are waiting.
Okay, so I'll just give a brief introduction. I send them the detail, and I keep referring to you on many occasions during my lectures. Because the life case is very close to my heart, so it becomes absolutely live. So hello students, today we have Mr. Anish Reddy, our own graduate. He graduated from here in 2005, and then he got admission in MIT, but he preferred to join ITC rather than going abroad. And we are so lucky that he took that decision, and we have a wonderful entrepreneur in the country. Otherwise, he might have done something in US. I had the opportunity to get associated with him from his student life, and I realized at that time that he demonstrated leadership skill, then lateral thinking, great maturity, a vision for future about everything. When he used to talk to me when I was an administrator at SRIC, I used to feel that he is more mature than me. Honestly, there's no meaning, I'm not exaggerating. Then why I say he had this lateral thinking and maturity, these are all demonstrated by the things that he did. He co-founded eCell, entrepreneurship cell at IIT Kharagpur. Nobody thought about it till then. Then he co-founded Robotics Society. More importantly, he took the extraordinary initiative to introduce the deferred placement facility at IIT Kharagpur. Now, if you want to start a startup and you don't want to lose the placement opportunity, you can opt for deferred placement, and then you just give a trial, and if you fail, you can come back and take the facility for placement again, and then go ahead and do a job, whatever. So he then availed some seed capital from IIT Kharagpur and started Capillary Tech along with Ajay Modani and Krishna Mehra, all from IIT Kharagpur. I don't know what should be the valuation today. My guess is that Capillary Tech should be valued more than 1,000 crore. Anish has been recognized as a 40 under 40 leader by Fortune magazine and by Economic Times. So that shows, meaning it is like CEO means top CEOs below 40, something like that. He is the youngest ever distinguished alumnus awardee of IIT Kharagpur. So that also kind of tells about whatever I have talked about him, that certifies. He is an active contributor to the startup ecosystem. He has already invested in more than 25 startups across various knowledge domains. He loves trekking, long distance running and traveling. What I am more proud of is that he has already contributed about 25 crore rupees to our institute for various initiatives. One very important is the Artificial Intelligence Center that has been started with his money. And we invested only 10 lakh rupees in the first tranche. He gave us 3% equity. We sold some share. I'm not privy to the inside information, but I know that we sold 400 shares for $1 million. That would be valued something like 7.5 crore rupees today. So anyway, don't bother about all those data in particular. That should indicate the kind of value that he has brought in for the institute, for the society at large, for the country. So welcome, Anish. Floor is yours. Let us hear more about him from him only.
Thanks for the kind words. You know, I think I must say that life happens to you. You know, I mean, life happens to all of us, and I've been lucky to, you know, contribute in a positive way, whether it was back in campus. Then, just to be factually right, we had moved robotics from the innovation lab to the Gymkhana, but the society was hence founded in Gymkhana by me, but we had essentially just moved it from one place to the other, right? So ECell, yes, we had founded it, and a lot of the other stuff, including Capillary, were founded by trying to solve, you know, problems that were visible to us, right? That if we felt that there was a problem that came up and we felt there was a solution to it, you know, we would use that as an opportunity to solve a problem, and that's something that's helped me in life many years through. So let me, you know, I thought I will. I'm told that a lot of the folks on the call today are final years who are probably going to graduate, you know, and might not mostly start up, right? So and hence I thought it'll be good to just take you through probably my journey on, you know, on how things happened, how life happened to me in some senses. Obviously, you know, you have to will and you have to work hard, but beyond that, you know, I think we are just cogs in a massive wheel, right? So things happen, right? So if you do things the right way, they tend to happen, right? So what I thought we'll do today, team, is you know, I'll probably take about 20-25 minutes taking you through my story a little bit. You know, I can then touch on a few things on, you know, if some of you want to start up, how do you think about it? And then, you know, we'll leave the last 20 minutes or so for questions, right? So I probably have 30 minutes of talk time, and then we'll have the last 20 minutes for questions. I do have a hard stop at 1 o'clock, so I appreciate if, you know, if you would put questions in the chat box or I don't know, message Manoj sir or whoever the teaching assistant for the course is, and I can answer those, right? So you know, so let me start with, you know, I think there've broadly been a few things that I've set up in life, right? So or founded in life, and the first of them actually was the entrepreneurship cell, right? So and let me tell you how that got founded, right? So and then I'll talk about Capillary, and you know, so we were, you know, we used to run robotics back then. This was 2005, and you know, we wanted to actually. The problem was most of the participants in robotics then would be teams from inside campus, you know, inside the IIT Kharagpur campus, and we would have 20-25 teams participate. Robotics was not as massive an event as it is today, right? So where it's hundreds of teams and, you know, a few hundred participants from multi-hundred colleges coming and participating. And we were trying to make it a large event, right? And the learning for us was that, look, if you have to make it a large event, you need participants from outside campus. And so we went and, you know, did these robotics workshops in all these campuses around Kharagpur, right? Bhubaneswar, Andhra, a lot of Bengal colleges, Northeast, etc. I think in 2004 we did, 2004-05 we did probably about 50 workshops, you know, and the question that came up when you go to those workshops was that, look, we don't have, kits to build robots, right? We don't have motors, we don't have, basic, electronic boards, etc., to build robots. And that was our first business idea, right? So we wanted to build a hobby kits company. So this was early 2005, and we were still in campus. I was in RK in my third year, and back then, even if you wanted to buy some stuff, there was this one small shop in Tech Market, and that too you'd have to tell that guy, and he had some contact in Wellington Road in Bombay, and they would ship that stuff. So you have to wait for like 3-4 weeks, right? So our first business idea was to do a hobby kits thing back in campus. This was 2005, and we didn't know how to build a company and where to get money from and all that stuff, right? So so that took us to the problem of saying, look, if there was an entrepreneurship cell which could tell us how to do this, we would then go and build. We would then set up this company and done it, right? So with that idea, we said, look, so let's set up an e-cell, right? So, and Kharagpur, funnily enough, back then was, we used to joke around that it was a land of opportunity. If whatever you wanted to do, you could do, right? So, and so with that idea of saying, let's set up the e-cell, we tried to get some funds in the iLabs, but iLabs didn't have a lot of money then. We then went to SRIC. Professor PPC was then the dean of SRIC back then. And he said, look, okay, let's set it up. And this is why, funnily enough, the e-cell actually is a part of SRIC and not of the Gymkhana or not any other organization, right? It's actually funded through money there. And that's how I also had got in touch with Manoj sir. So I think the short example, the reason I'm giving you this example is, I think problems present themselves to us in life at different points in time, right? So, and it's important to, see if we can solve them, but solve them in a repeatable manner, right? So if you just solve a single problem, that might not lead to a company or an organization that will sustain and thrive, right? So, and the second was capillary, right? So we then set the e-cell up. Interestingly, the story of my life is I didn't want to start up in life. It was not that, I came from a business family. Both my parents are doctors. And in fact, the day I wanted to start up, my dad seriously depressed. He said, look, for the next 1 year, you're not doing anything like that. I have an elder brother, and funny enough, he said, till your brother gets married, you're not going to start up. I was like, what's the correlation between my brother getting married and me starting up, right? So not environments where, starting up was looked at as coolly. This was 2007-8, right? So, so as Manoj sir said, got out of campus, had a day zero job at ITC, had a couple of master's calls. The good piece with me was, by the end of my stay in campus, I realized that I like building teams. I like a bit of the techno-managerial type stuff and not just research, right? And I had a bunch of, international papers and a patent, which is very rare for those days, so that kind of got me through MIT back then. But, something inside me said, look, I think you should stay back, join ITC, you will enjoy this more, right? So that's the second learning in life, right? So following your heart, I think is something that's helped me. Following my heart rather than my intellectual mind has definitely been something that's helped me over the years, right? So and some of those decisions have been the best that I've done, right? So then joined ITC, worked there for a couple of years. It's a great company. They take care of you very well, lots of learnings. But, there was this whole question on impact. What's the impact that you're delivering, right? So, and having set up the e-cell, having done robotics, having got RK renovated back in 2006, there was this question on impact that would always keep coming up in my mind back then. And so like most people do, end of 2 years I applied for Harvard out of ITC. I luckily got a reject. Now see again, I actually got through the interview round. Then I think I was rejected for I don't know what reason. But so at that point in time, most people said, look, apply next year, you will get through, right? So if you got through the interview round this year, you will definitely get through the second was, a wingy of mine, Krishna, who was with Microsoft Research. So both of us, met up for his birthday, and he was super frustrated about writing a lot of code which would never see, would never see the light of the day, right? I mean, at Microsoft Research. And I was also in this question mark in life on, what's the impact of what I'm doing at ITC, right? So, and so we both said, look, I think let's give ourselves 1 year and start up, right? So that's when it really, that idea of starting up came. Luckily for us, Krishna comes from a business family, so his grandfather had set up Rupa and Company, which is a book publisher, right? So, and his parents were very keen that Krishna starts up, right? So, and he said, look, let's do something together, and we started Capillary up. We came back to IIT, picked up a 15 lakh small seed loan, right? 10 lakhs initially, and then 5 lakhs after that, and started Capillary up. This was 2008. I remember very clearly for, I think, a good 2-3 years, my parents would never tell any of my relatives or any of their friends that Anish has quit his ITC job and he's starting up. I sometimes feel they didn't understand the fine line between being self-employed and unemployed, right? So, and thankfully they're happy now with the way things have progressed. So again, Capillary started with we didn't know what to do. Right, we were 2 kids out of campus, couple of years, not too much of experience in life, and when we started up, we said, let's go let's pick 2 sunrise sectors, and build something in between them. So as these sectors grow, you will grow with it, right? So this was 2008. The mobile story, iPhone had just come out. The mobile story was booming. And the second was retail in India was just beginning to happen, right? Organized retail in India was just starting to happen. And that's when we, said, let's do something between retail and mobile. Although none of us came from a retail or a mobile background. The good piece was because we didn't know much about the sectors, we spent the next 6 months between August of 2008 and, March of 2009, just speaking to people, right? So, like, I think we spoke to about 50 retailers. We spoke to all the mobile phone operators in the country, Airtel, Vodafone, Idea, and the likes back then. And we spent 6 months just, asking people that, look, we are 2 kids from IIT. What do you want us to build? Speak to everyone in our networks. And with that, get to, what the real need in the market was, right? So, luckily we signed up a lot of customers, again, because we had spoken to 50 people, we'd asked them, look, what is your need? 30 of them said the same thing. This was 2008. Lehman Brothers had just tanked. It was the last big financial recession, right? Which is 2008. And a lot of the customers we were speaking to would tell us that, look, our customers aren't coming back to stores. And if you could build a solution that helped us get customers back to stores, we would, buy it even in a recession, right? So, and that's what we eventually ended up building, right? So Capillary is a CRM for retail and other consumer businesses. And that has kept us, this figuring the need and then building for that customer, I think has always been something that we've done very well at Capillary. And through the ups and downs of, multiple downturns, 2008, 2012, the last downturn, which was last year, I think that one single goal of, listening to what customers want and building for it, I think has really helped us stay through. So that's quickly my story on how we started. And let me now take you through some key pointers, right, which I think are might be relevant for you, and based on my learnings and what I've seen with other startups that have started over the years as well, Theram and Angel or friends companies. So the question that I get asked a lot of times by people who are just out of college or just in their final years is, what is the right time to start up, right? So, or when should I start up is a good question, right? So, I think the right time to start up, if you ask me, is when you can spare like the next 2 to 5 years of your life uh, on something you're passionate about, right? So and hence that question, the answer to that question is very different for different people, right? So if you're very passionate about something and you come from a rich family, you could start up right out of campus, right? And we've had there's another passionate of mine, Saurabh Bansal, who started straight out of campus, right? And is done phenomenally well again. It's a company called Magic Crate, which did very well over the years again, over 100 crores of turnover. Saurabh was, I think, last year the Young Alumni Achiever Awardee and Alumnus Achiever Awardee in IIT Kharagpur. So the question is, I think when you can, without stress, spend the next 2 to 5 years of your life, so what that means is, one is that, you need to be financially stable yourselves, right? So because when you start up the first 2-3 years, you won't be able to make money, right? So you will not be able to pay yourselves and some of that. And hence, even when we started Capillary, we both had told ourselves that, once we're able to save 6 lakhs each, is when we would start Capillary up, right? So although we decided to start up in January of 2008, we actually started up only in August, right? So took us time to like save some money because we knew that, look, lifestyle change would be a big issue, right? I mean, one is you have the stress of starting up. On that side, if you also have to cut corners on your lifestyle, it's just going to be very hard, right? So the other thing I've seen is, most successful startups I've seen have been folks who started, let's say, 2 to 5 years after they got out of campus. That's a time in life when there's very less to lose, right? In fact, the way I convinced my parents on saying, look, let me start up, was by telling them that, look, in case if it doesn't work in a year or two, I'll go give CAT or I'll go give GMAT again and I'll get to an MBA, right? So and that was also, by the way, one of the reasons why we set up the deferred placement cell, right? So that because the problem was most parents were worried, or the kids had to convince the parents back then on what will happen if the startup doesn't work, right? So and one choice was saying, look, you'll get a similar or better job than what you've got now, right? So the other place where I see folks start up is at the 35 to 40 years of age. Because what happens then is you've spent 12, 15 years in corporate life, 21 to 35. You've built your own network. You then also know a couple of, through your 15 years of corporate life, you would know what you would know what problems are there in your line of work, right? So a good example is, a couple of, we've had about a little more than 40 startups coming out of Capillary now. And a lot of them have been in the last 2-3 years, right? And have been in areas which are around what we do, right? So our ex-head of sales went and started something on, sales enablement. Another person in the sales team went and started something on, a CDP for sales, right? So that's again, that 35 to 40 is again an age when, you're stable, you've got your first house, you have enough savings in life, which can take you through for the next 2-3 years. Additionally, you would also have in your mind, 1 or 2 problems that you had faced yourselves, when you were building, business for someone else, right? So I've seen that these two to be, general age groups when, at least startups in India and founders in India have seen reasonable success, right? So probably, 2 to 5 years out of campus, around between 35 to 40. The next is, coming to how do you arrive at the idea, right? So I arrive at the idea of what you want to build, right? So one is, it's I've seen great success in folks solving problems that they have seen as a user, right? So, and this is typically, folks who are, you build a consumer product, let's say the case of someone like Bhavish Adola, right? That he initially wanted to build a travel company, and then, pivoted, and finally got into saying, look, we will do long distance cabs first. So his first solution was intercity travel between Pune and Pune and Bombay, right? And then that slowly morphed into Ola, which is what it is today, right? So another example is I don't know if you guys follow startups, but there's one of the best startups out of India is a company called Freshworks. This is by a gentleman called Girish Mathrubootham. Now Girish, interestingly, is the second type, right? He was 35 when he founded Freshworks. Is 10 years old now. He's 45 now. It's an amazing company, right? So, and his learning was that, he was moving back to India, and while I think FedEx or someone had damaged his TV during the transport, and he couldn't get customer service to reply to him. And as he realized that, he built a customer service software, right? And he comes from that background as well. He used to earlier work at Zoho on a product called Manage Engine, which is again in the customer service space, right? So, so as a first-time user, as well as having seen Zoho build Manage Engine, so Freshworks was built out of Freshdesk, as it was called back then, was built out of that idea, right? So one way to arrive at an idea is, if you feel there is a real pain point which you are seeing as a user, then you should talk to others who are similar users like you and see if they also resonate with that problem, and then build it, right? So the second approach is the approach that we took at Capillary, which was the sunrise sector approach, right? So build something in between two sunrise sectors, and as those sectors grow, you will grow with it, right? So which is kind of like the boom on fintech now, or edtech, or SaaS, software as a service, which is what's happening right now, right? So and again, when you're doing the sunrise sector view, or the problems you've seen as a user, one important question to ask yourselves is this a large enough problem to solve? What you don't want to do is solve a problem that's so small that in 2 years you cap out on the market, right? And that's a problem that you see a lot of times with a lot of folks, that you do great for the first 4-5 years, and then you hit a glass ceiling, right? So you hit a glass ceiling at like 5 million or 10 million of revenues, and you're not able to scale beyond that. Some other suggestions or learnings for me across the path have been, speak to as many people as you can to validate your idea before you start building. As engineers, as people who have easy access to tech talent, we tend to be in this mental model of keep building, right? Build more. And we think that next feature is what will, make the company a very successful company or get a lot of customers. But contrary to that, what I've generally seen over the years is, startups which spend insane amount of time in front of prospective customers, in front of prospective users, understand their pain points, really validate it, right? I told you about what we did, right? We spoke to 50 retailers in between August of 2008 and February of 2009, right? So we would just speak. And out of those 50, when 30 said, look, this is a problem for us, 7-8 of them said, look, we will pay you for this problem. That's when we went finally and built something. We had many other startups that came from campus in those 2-3 years, right? There were about 10 of us who started up about 7 companies. And quite a few of them were the other way around, that, people built massive tech systems for edtech, etc. Bingies of mine built Intino, and again, the problem there was they had not spent as much time, speaking to many users in many companies or many institutes and arriving at that problem well. They had arrived at a problem which they saw for themselves, but they had not validated it with many people, right? So And hence, whenever they would go pitch, the customer would say, look, add me this or add me that. And, you spend a good 2 years getting nowhere, right? So now coming to the team, right, which is the other learning that I definitely want to touch on today is, build teams with complementary skill sets, right? So like the example of KK, Ajay and me is, I was generally a decent guy at, I would enjoy meeting new people, new conversations. So I was a salesy guy, right? So while Krishna is brilliant at tech, he was institute ranked to on campus. The joke back then used to be that KK can code faster than we could type, right? So he was a brilliant techie. And Ajay was one of the best operations guys you can ever find. Heads down, execution, very strong at operations, right? So, and we made a phenomenal team, right? So, although for my life I can't do operations, and I've never coded in life. The last time I wrote code was in Kharagpur, and that was also in MATLAB. So I wouldn't consider that like serious coding, right? So I think complementarity of the team is very important. Next is, look, I think it's important to also build with friends, right? So the startup journey is a very hard journey. It's not easy. It's not for everyone, right? So if you can't deal with ambiguity, if ambiguity or anxiety is something which you if you feel very hard to deal with, then probably starting up is not for you. Because every morning you wake up and there is a new problem, right? In a startup, and hence, I would say it's good to start with folks you know well, with folks who you can, let yourselves, openly to them saying, look, I have a problem, right? So, and I've seen that, especially in some of the angel investments I've done, when it is founders who don't know each other, I think the tension builds up a little bit over a period of time, right? So on team, I would say complementary skill sets and preferably folks or have common friends with, right? So I have all of 2-3 minutes left now. So let me touch on some quick common mistakes. Don't build for a single customer. It's a very bad idea. Speak to multiple customers. You don't want to build a services company where you build one solution for each customer, right? Build for multiple customers. That's the way to go. Spend enough time selling. Just don't keep building, right? So that's the second one. The third one that I've seen a lot of founders do is spending just too much money too much time trying to raise money, or building companies for investors, right? So look, I think investors are at best very smart people who have a very distant view of what's happening in your world or in the problem that you're trying to solve, right? And hence, trying to build for raising money or for investors, I've generally seen to be a big pitfall, right? On the other hand, build for customers, build for, solve real problems. And that will mean that you will get good talent to work for you. That will mean that you will get good investors to invest in it, right? So that's quickly, we're at 12:40, so I will stop here. Any questions that I can take? I know it was a long monologue. Sorry about that, but.
Anybody? There will be questions, but they have some inertia at the beginning.
How many of you want to start up? Is there a way in which you can vote or something in this?
I don't think so. I'm not very sure. Never tried.
Okay.
Yeah, Kshitij, go ahead.
Nothing, sir. It was a mistake. Sorry.
Okay. Anybody would like to ask something?
Sir, in starting you said before like investing your life into a startup, you would prefer like having some savings and working somewhere to get those savings and being economically stable. So I think there is also a problem that once people get into corporates, they tend to be stuck there. Do you have any say on that?
I think that's a good question. But look here, so the financial stability thing is, I've seen a bunch of startups where I've been an angel, where, very early founders didn't, also had financial obligations for the family, only bread earner type stuff. And it just doesn't give you enough time for the startup to mature, right? So, and unfortunately, they end up leaving in about, a year and a half, 2 years. So that's one part. But look, Kshitij, even I worked at ITC. I mean, it's a great company, so, and I don't know, Kshitij, or who was the person who asked the question, but when you want to start up, you will start up. It's just a burning urge, right? So, and like we hired, our initial team came from, a Microsoft, from a Google, from a Yahoo, from an Oracle, all best in breed companies, right? So where I don't think the problem was ever about, are they making enough money? I think the question was about, are you having fun? Are you able to create enough impact? Do you have the freedom to take your own calls, right? Some of that. And so, I do see a lot of people, like even out of Capillary, we've had 40 startups, right? I mean, if you were to count ourselves a corporate. So I do think, once you make enough money, where you know that, look, even if things go wrong for the next 4 or 5 years, I've seen people start up quite a bit at 35. Like right now I'm 36, and a lot of my batchmates are starting up like left, right, center, leaving very good jobs at a Flipkart, at a Unilever, at an ITC, at a Capillary, at a Freshworks, at all kinds of companies. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions, team?
Hi, sir. I'm Suresh. Hello.
Yes, right.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes. Go ahead.
Sir, you said like as an investor, what are the qualities that you observe in a startup, whether to invest or not? Like, is it the performance of the product, or would you compare like the numbers of in terms of the balance sheet, the debt to equity ratio, and how they're doing, so on? Thank you.
Yeah, so most of my investing has been angel series. So this is very early stage, right? So most of, I've done about 60 companies till now over the last 10 years. And you're the first check writer. So there is really no balance sheet and debt and, ratios to look at, right? So what I'm not doing is public markets investing, where you have a lot of data to look at and then invest. So this would typically be on quality of team, would be on the idea, right? So is it a meaningful idea or not? Is it reasonably differentiated, right? So what I've generally seen is, in sectors where you have just how do you put it? In sectors where you like, let's say fintech or food tech back then, right? Or edtech now, right? So what happens is, the person who wins is not the best team. It's just who's been able to raise money fastest, right? So while if it's a reasonably niche but large area, right? So not then a better team, a better product tends to have a real chance to win, right? So that's some quick right. So you would look at team, you would look at the idea, you would look at in my case, I also tend to invest through a syndicate, through a few friends of mine or folks who made money on Capillary. So I tend to look at it as a collective decision a lot of times. That I would, if I like an idea, then I would put it to like 7-8 people who I know also invest along with me, and we collectively decide, right? So yeah.
Yes, sir, that answers the question. Hello, that answers the question. Thank you.
Thanks, Harish. Any other questions, team? You could ask me general questions beyond startups as well. I'm sure a lot of you are at that very interesting phase in life when you're getting out of campus, first jobs, and the like. So feel free to step out of that.
Sir.
Hello, sir. I have a question regarding this relevance of MBA. I mean, it is obvious that MBA is not necessary to be a good entrepreneur, but what impact would MBA really create on becoming an entrepreneur? I mean, does it have any impact?
I haven't, Ravi, to be honest, I haven't done an MBA myself, right? I mean, I'm the least educated guy in my family. So just a BTech at that. So I wouldn't have first-hand answers to that question, Ravi. But what I can tell you is, look, I think the folks who tend to start up after an MBA fall in the 35-year bucket, right? So because what happens is you do an MBA, you then go work at some place for a few years, and you then tend to start up. Now, is an MBA useful? It definitely is, right? So some of the folks in my top team at Capillary are folks from an ISB, are folks from one of the IIMs. And are they equal contributors to building Capillary up? They are, right? I don't think we would have built a company as good without folks from there. Do they think very differently from engineers? Yes, they do, right? So will an MBA add value? I definitely think it does. But is it a requirement to start up? I really don't think. I really don't think so. Did I answer your question, Ravi? I think it gives you more. What I've generally seen is, most startups are about, at least the founder needs to have one very good network, right? So in my case, that network was, let's say, IIT Kharagpur, right? So in Girish Peshwak's case, that network was the Zoho network, right? So, So if for a lot of folks who I know who are founders out of an IIM, their IIM networks have been, what they fall back on, right? For hiring or for business development or for advice, right? So it adds a network, but, if you're already having a network as strong as, let's say, Kharagpur, I don't know if that's a incremental value.
So just Igor, I mean, how did you get to know regarding, I mean, there'll be many financial stuff, right? I mean, which is more implicit in the business. I mean, we don't talk about that much in the engineering phase and how did you get to know about that?
You hire the right people. So, Ravi, what happens in life is, look, as a founder, you will never know everything, right? So, startups is about teams, right? So I remember when we started Capillary up, we actually had this outsourced agency called Proactive, who would do our payroll, who would do our tax filings, who would do everything. We would pay them some 10,000 rupees a month or some 15,000 rupees a month. Today, you again have many companies like that, who, if you're starting up, like a bunch of companies that are started out of Capillary, our ex-CFO at Capillary went and started up this thing called Tata Movers, right? So he helps people with, their early finance requirements as in, like accounting and tax filings and all that stuff. And as the company grows, I think we were in our second or third year when we went and hired our own head of, our own finance team, right? So, and it'll always be the case, Ravi. You will never be able to know everything that is required.
Yes, sir. I got it.
Any questions, team? Any more questions?
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. I am Akshit. I want to ask, sir, what was the greatest fear in your entrepreneur journey, and how do you manage that fear?
What was the, sorry, what's the question? Can you repeat that?
Sir, like what was the biggest fear that you might have faced during your entrepreneur journey, and how did you manage it, or how did you cope up with that?
No, I think that's the best question of the day. So, so look, it's not just about entrepreneurship, right? I think life in general is about conquering, your own fears and your own demons. So, and I think the one principle that's helped me in life on fear is to make peace with what is the worst that can happen. If you took a decision, like you're generally afraid that a decision might go wrong, or the company might fail, or something might happen, right? So the way I've dealt with that is, I sit down and say, what's the worst that can happen, right? If I started up and if what's the worst that can happen? It'll fail. I'd have wasted 2 years of my life. And the question then you ask yourselves is, are you okay with the worst that can happen? Right. So, and if you're comfortable with the worst, then it's not worth being afraid of. Right. Then you should just go ahead and decide. Right. So I think in my case, look, so Capillary was started at a time when starting up wasn't cool. Right. So we didn't have this billions of dollars being raised and billions of dollars of valuations and all that funny stuff. Right. So, we had started up looking at, like Arjun, who spoke last week or whenever had come to do he was our first speaker at the ESL. When we set ESL up, Arjun was the first guy who came and spoke, and then and after the talk was over, KK was my other co-founder at the ESL, Krishna, right? So, was my co-founder at Capillary. Both of us cornered Arjun and we sat down and, had a good chat with him, and that left an impression in us. Somewhere it left an impression in us saying, inke jaise banna hai, right? No, we have to become someone like him. So, so the biggest fear I've had on Capillary has been, will this be a good company, right? Can we build this into a good organization? The other fear I've had is, will there be a time when I will not be able to pay people salaries, right? So for work people have done, if I'm not able to pay them, I think that's been a big fear, right? So, and we've come close to like running out of money 6 times in the last 12 years, 11 years, actually 12 years. And many in the early times, and many, one very recently, COVID, right? So, and I'm happy that, that fear has not meant that, we've been less ambitious as Capillary, or, the way we've answered that fear for me, Akshit, is we make sure we have at least 6 months of cash, even if we don't make any rupee today, right? For the next 6 months, if I don't make any money as a business, we have enough cash to like pay salaries for 6 months, right? So, and in COVID, that happened, right? We are a retail-focused business. Everything was shut down, and we had to take some hard calls. We had to get a lot of people, placed out of Capillary. Luckily for us, we were able to do that, right? So, and yeah, so I think that's been the biggest fear. And in general, the best way to deal with fear, Akshit, is to observe what's causing that fear, and to just lay out in your mind saying, look, what is the worst that can happen? And if you're comfortable with the worst, then go ahead and do it, right? So, I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, yes, sir, that definitely answered my question. Thanks a lot, sir.
Cool. Any other questions, team? Cool. So should we call it a day then?
Yeah, I think if they are not asking any questions, then we'll call it a day. Thank you, Anish. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and spending some time with fellow students. It's a great honor for us, a great privilege that we get access to you.
No, I think, a lot of people helped us when we started up, including you, sir. So it's my small way of just paying back. So happy to be of any help going forward as well. And if any of you is planning to start up, drop me a line. Happy to, be of any help that I can be. Yeah.
And for the students, let me tell you, whenever students are approaching me for mentoring, I do a little bit at the beginning, but when I realize that now the complexities are more and they need matured strategies, then I refer them to Anish. And Anish is always helping. That perhaps should have been the best part of the introduction. So I sent to him many students team, and he had helped a lot. In fact, through interaction at the beginning, I also learned. As I said, he was already matured and he has gained so much. So that helped. So any of you at any point of time, you need mentoring, or you are on the crossroad and you cannot decide as to what to do, you should always approach to Anish, maybe through me or directly.
Happy to help folks. So, and best of luck. I think you're entering a very interesting phase of your life. So, keep listening to what life wants you to do. I think it's the best teacher out there. Yeah. Thanks then. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.